good morning, or good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. In fact, tell me where you are in the world right now. I'd love to say hey. Today, our special guest for the Marketing That Grows Your Business show, we're on episode 70 already. It's hard to believe that we've been doing this show for well over a year now. But our special guest today we're going to talk to him about influencer marketing. And I think there's a lot of like miscommunication or misinformation maybe around what influencer marketing actually is, and more specifically, how you can leverage it and add revenue stream or an additional revenue stream to your business using influencer marketing. So, hey, Alicia, good to see you. She's down in Houston. So how's the weather down in Houston? I'm in Virginia, still taking care of my dad, and the weather has been lovely here. It's been like, I just want to stay outside all day long. In fact, I have been the past few days. It's been super lovely. But again, quick question, and I'd love your all's take on this. Would you like to get paid to share something you love? Like, we all use and consume things that we love, like we go to a movie or we go out to eat and we find a good restaurant, for example, and we tell people about it. But in the online space, we could do the same thing, right? We might like a tool, for example, that we use each and every day. And, if that brand wants to collaborate with you in an influencer way, you could actually get paid to tell other people about it. So influencer marketing is different from affiliate marketing. We're going to talk about that. What's the differences? Because I think sometimes, again, there's some confusion around what that looks like. But anyway, good morning, Paul. I'm so glad to see you. We've got Josh in the house. Good morning. Good morning. I hope, or Joshua, whichever. I just said Josh. Hopefully that's okay. All right. So just real quick, let me share a few small things before we bring in our special guest today. We love the love around here, so feel free to sprinkle this out into the world. If you know somebody that would benefit from understanding influencer marketing at a higher level, and more specifically, use it to get more revenue in their business, then pass it out, hit the buttons and the emojis and tag somebody, whatever, to get, more people in the know as it relates to this particular topic. This is a growing trend. And, whether it's a big brand or whether it's small businesses just like you can either take advantage of it to get more exposure for your products or services, or the flip side of it, you could have somebody approach you and say, hey, I'd be willing to pay you, or I'd be willing to, give you, my product or my service in exchange for you sharing it. There's all kinds of models that every one of you guys can use as it relates to influencer marketing. You just have to understand it a little bit and then figure out how you go about using it, leveraging it. And then we have special gifts today. We have 3, in fact, that we're going to be giving away. Let me share what those are going to look like. Our winner, we're going to have one winner today of our special guest book, Neal Schaffer's latest book, The Age of Influence. And it's all about influencer marketing. So one winner for that. We're also going to be giving away one of your Vibe Attracts Your Tribe t-shirts. And last but certainly not least, we're giving a big shout out to our sponsor of today's show, the Business Builders Academy, and we're going to give away a 1-year access to the Business Builders Academy. Now, the Business Builders Academy is basically a training portal. It's chock full of all kinds of resources that are digestible. I call them snackable. So there are many trainings that you can choose based on what you want to do in your business. And there's no more guessing. You can just get to it and take action quick as a bunny. So there's lots of resources in there. I've been building the Business Builders Academy for many years now, and there's a ton of amazing things in there. So one winner will get the 1-year membership to the Business Builders Academy. All right. So I told you guys we're going to bring in the special guest in just a second. I want to introduce you guys to somebody that's just incredible. I met Neal first at, I think, at Social Media Marketing World. And we were just sharing that we haven't spoken in like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. It's crazy. But he's an authority on helping innovative businesses digitally transform their sales and marketing. He's the founder of the digital marketing consultancy, PDCA Social. He currently serves as a fractional CMO for several organizations. So that's just kind of like, we were just talking about this, and I'm so fascinated about this, but he's basically, consulting as a CMO for other businesses. I think that's just a really nifty way to take advantage of what's happening in COVID. But he also teaches at Rutgers Business School and the Irish Management Institute. He's fluent in Japanese, y'all, and Mandarin Chinese. So let's just lean into this and say, this dude is incredibly sharp, right? I mean, if he can speak 2 other languages and still manages to speak English, yeah, he's got it going on. But he's a popular keynote speaker and has spoken on 4 continents in more than a dozen countries. He's the author of 4 books, you guys. So yeah, you're going to be incredibly blessed by hearing and learning from Neal today. So if you know others, like I say, that need to know a little bit more about this, don't hesitate to share it out, sprinkle it out into the world. Let's get more folks in here so that you have an opportunity and they have an opportunity to learn from Neal. So you guys put your hands together for my friend, Neal Schaffer. Hey, Neal.
Hey, Kim, thank you so much for that very generous introduction.
Oh, no, I'm serious. I've always been a huge fan. I didn't know you spoke Chinese too. I'll just be totally honest. I knew you spoke Japanese, but I didn't know about the Chinese part until I read your bio just now. And I'm like, is it just the 3 languages or do you know more? I'm just curious.
Disclaimer, I was an Asian studies major in university, so you got to pick up a language or 2.
Dude, that is just so clever. And, both of those languages are, on the cutting edge. If you learn how to speak Spanish, that's great. Or if you learn how to speak French, that's great. But if you learn how to speak Chinese, like you got it going on, it seems like that's kind of where the future is. A lot of businesses are, looking for people who speak Chinese for sure. So, all right. Well, let's dig into this whole influencer. So Katie says, amazing bio. Yes, right. He's incredible, y'all. Okay. So I know your book, The Age of the Influence, is about influencer marketing, but let's start with what is influencer marketing anyway? I think sometimes people confuse it with, being a brand ambassador or affiliate marketing. So what is it exactly?
So, at its core, influence to the power of others. So before social media, for those that remember, we have something called a celebrity endorsement, which we still have, which is a TV commercial, a magazine ad, a newspaper ad with a celebrity that is endorsing a product. They're advertising on behalf of a product. And with social media now, we have brands that say we want to take that model and do the same thing on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Snapchat, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. So at the core, that's what it is. It is a brand, a business that wants to collaborate with an individual social media user, which could also be a business, by the way, and really get them to help share the word about their company. So I guess it's a type of advertising from a company's perspective. But when done right, it seems very natural, very authentic, and it doesn't seem like an ad when people who really like and use the product are talking about it in a natural way. And that's where, the word brand ambassador has been around before influencer marketing, but we call those people that naturally, authentically talk about businesses. We sort of call them brand ambassadors. So it's a concept that's really leveraged in influencer marketing. And affiliate marketing, if you think about it, you want to sell your product, you want to tap into people with influence. Affiliate marketers, excuse me, it's already in the morning here. Affiliate marketers have digital spread. They have a big digital footprint. They can help push your product, and therefore they also have digital influence. So I consider affiliate marketing a subset or part of influencer marketing. It's all about tapping into people of digital influence. If you've ever had someone contact you, say, hey, we'd love to get a link from your website, Well, they're trying to tap into your influence with Google to try to build on your influence and get a link back to your website. If you have a podcast and you've been asked to be interviewed on the podcast, you're being seen as an influencer. They're hoping that once you're on their podcast, you help share the word about their podcast. And the same is true with Instagram and any other network. So I think once you understand the concept, as I talk about it, you realize it's been going on for a while, and maybe you've been part of it without even knowing.
Yeah, I so agree. You know, I think for a moment in time, you know, we've been around for a long time in the social space. So, and even farther back before social became a thing. Interestingly enough, for a while, affiliate marketing kind of got what I call a dirty name. Like, you know, it's like, ugh. And now it's, I think, circling back. You know, personally, we generate about 6 figures in revenue with affiliate marketing every year. So it's nothing to sneeze at. I mean, and again, it goes back to we're all sharing things that we love. Why not get paid for it? Or we all love things. Let me say that. We all love things, specific things, whether it's a tool or a resource or, you know, somebody else's course or whatever. You know, if you're, in my opinion, you should be smart enough to like take advantage of that in some capacity. So I'm curious, how did you get started with influencer marketing? Man, what made you decide, hey, I need to write this book and tell the world about, you know, give it some dimension and some focus around the whole concept of influencer marketing?
Yeah, so I'm not part of the influencer marketing industry. I don't consider myself an influencer marketing expert. I help businesses. I live to serve others, right? And in doing that, I've written a few books. So my first 2 books were about LinkedIn. I shifted gears. My business ended up becoming social media strategy consulting, and then I wrote a book called Maximize Your Social. So it was a few years ago. I distinctly remember the day I was a guest lecturer here at USC in a marketing class. And I was used to getting questions about, social media marketing strategy. How do you measure social media marketing ROI? And the questions that day were not only about how to tap into influencers, but these young marketers were saying, how do I become an influencer? How do I get paid, several $100s to post a photo on Instagram or whatever it is? And that started me on this journey. And I started doing interviews, started doing research, started tapping into my own past and connecting the dots. And then I realized that it was a really fundamental concept that was very much misunderstood. And that started me on the journey of actually writing and then publishing the book back in March of 2020. So, I consider influencer marketing one of these main, components of digital marketing today. You have search engine optimization, you got email marketing, and with organic social media marketing becoming so hard for businesses and so easy, well, a lot easier for people, it really sets the background for why influencer marketing has grown to be so big. And if you have so much budget in paid social media, then it makes sense to sort of start to funnel some of that into working and collaborating with influencers. And, it's interesting. You'd think that COVID would have killed the influencer marketing industry, but because it's such a core component, there are some sectors like travel bloggers that obviously took a hit. But, in general, companies are really doing more with influencer marketing, and they're really trying to build up their own internal network of, that term brand ambassador that you talked about, Kim. They're trying to, build up their own group of people that they can tap into at any time for any campaign or when they have a new product, what have you. So it's a really, really interesting space. Most, consumer brands are very well versed in it. A lot of small businesses, a lot of B2B brands, it's still relatively new, or they think, well, we're not going to pay someone $1 million. We're not after vanity likes. We don't want to work with the Kardashians. They still don't get it that, today, anybody might be an influencer. All of us have a voice. All of us are creating content. And even if you have as little as 1,000 or 2,000 followers, you can still have impact when you talk about a brand. So that's really the background. And, since writing the book, Kim and I were talking beforehand, but I'm moving on to like a broader, a take on digital marketing for my next book. But, influencer marketing is something that with every client that I work with, we always try to find an angle to work that in, whether it's, hey, we want to start a podcast series. Well, who are we going to interview? Let's try to interview influencers. It's going to be obviously a way to really get exposure for our podcast, right? We're a B2B company. We want to do webinars. Let's see what influencers from the industry we can bring in. We're a consumer brand. Well, how do we not just leverage influencers for campaigns, but for actual content? Because, I ran an agency a few years ago, and content being produced by bloggers, by Instagrammers was way better than the content that was produced by the brand. So let's use more of it, right? So you see a lot of companies leveraging, we call it user-generated content, but they're trying to strategically tap into influencers for that content, to the point where sometimes they just pay the influencers to create the content for them because it's so good. I mean, the amplification's fine, but the content can help in social media. It can help with their paid media. They can put it on their shopping cart. They can put it anywhere digitally, right? So it's become a really, really exciting, interesting place. And once you sort of, the light bulb turns on, you begin to see social media not just as a place to promote and advertise, but as a place to collaborate and to, connect with your customers, connect with people that have similar passions. And that's where the magic in the space begins.
I so love everything. So good. Everything you just said. So I want to key in on something that I actually had a question about, but you said it, but I want to pull it out of, dissect it a little bit more. You talked about the fact that anybody today can be an influencer, and I am in total agreement. In fact, there's categories of influencers. They label them, and we can talk about that in just a moment. But I personally believe that the smallest sector, is the hottest sector right now. Those smallest influencers, they call them nano or micro influencers, where, they have a very small social media following. And I just love your take on that. You said everybody can be an influencer, even if you have a very small community online. Do you have any examples of that? Or what's your take on that the smallest influencer could have a major impact for a business these days?
Yeah. So, when we talk about small influencers, the influencer marketing industry used to have this pyramid, and it's like, hey, we got celebrities at top, and you work down to what they call micro influencer. And micro influencers were defined as people with at least 10,000 followers on Instagram. The industry's always been very Instagram centric. And then a few years ago, they said, well, even people below that at 1,000 followers, called nano influencers, can still have impact for a brand. And two things going on. The economics, if you think about it, is that the more people you can tap into from a brand's perspective, the more you're going to find the people that mesh with your brand. It also reduces the cost, right? Because there's it's supply demand. There's more people you can work with. But the idea about nano influencers as well is that the chances that they bought fake followers, because that does exist, is a lot less. Otherwise, they wouldn't be a nano influencer, right? Smaller communities, smaller followers, the data shows they actually get higher engagement on average. If you have any kids that are on Instagram, look at their engagement rates. It's pretty amazing. When I look at my daughter, my daughter's 16, just the amount of impressions and the amount of engagement, like her and her friends get on every post, right? And brands would love to do that. So, when we look at nano influencers, let's say you have, 1,000 followers. Let's start at the bottom there. But you're probably getting way more engagement than even brands that have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 followers, because they're probably getting very, very bad engagement. And if you're getting, 10x engagement, you might be performing better than a much bigger account. Not to put down Social Media Examiner, they're a great brand, but I have like 15,000 followers on Instagram. They have 70,000 followers. I'm what you consider a micro influencer, but I'll show you, most of my posts outperform Social Media Examiner in terms of engagement rate, right? And it's nothing bad on them, but it's that people, it's a few things, right? It's that people really resonate more with people than with brands to begin with. People on Instagram to, have fun. Some people want to get informed and learn, but more so they want to goggle over photos or, look at reels. So it's just different. And that's where, a really, really good nano influencer who's really tapped into the brand, they speak to the community, that's where the magic happens. And that's where they can have a lot of impact. There are, tons of brands, and I have a few case studies in my book that have built their business basically off of nano micro influencers, off of, this company that I talked to the other day. They make a bamboo handlebar for bikes. Okay. 100% sustainable. And it gives you a more comfortable ride. It doesn't vibrate like normal bike handles would. So their business is built on reaching out to influencers and basically sending them product. If you love the product, would love that you review it, and reaching out to people that really love to bike and people that have communities of people that really love to bike. So it's a great niche, right? And it's very, very easy to find these people. And it's a $200 product. So they're giving something of value, which is the key here, right? Not everybody wants a $5 Amazon gift card, but they're giving a product that people that are really in the space want to try. And this is the type of thing that once you begin to think about what value as a business, this I believe is the secret to success here. What value can I provide? And if you think about the money you spend advertising, why spend $5,000 a month with Facebook and Instagram ads when you could pour that money into relationships with people that already have trusted communities, rather than you trying to have Facebook guess what lookalikes are going to convert for you, right? So it's just a completely different paradigm shift. And I'm hoping that everybody listening, so there's two ends of this, right? There's how do I make money as an influencer, generate some income, and then there's for the business. I'm hoping for the business, you can try to see how, how do we tap into those people that can really get the word out about our product? How can we collaborate? What value can we offer them? And I think that's really the first exercise to unlock the power here.
Oh, I so agree. I've done a ton of influencer marketing, brand ambassadorship, whatever, right? And I've just watched this evolution of even my community. Once you get to a certain place, it's almost too big to manage anymore. So the one-on-one conversations are not as plentiful as when you have that small, very tight-knit community when you're just getting started. And so I think there is a difference in value, a lot of value in those smaller communities. And I noticed, like, my son's girlfriend, every time she posts a photo of herself, there's like collab ? All these people are like trying to collaborate with her so that she maybe they've got a product or service. But I love what you just said in the context of there's two sides of this fence. There is us as business owners finding small nano influencers that might love our product or service in exchange for a review. Or in other words, there may not necessarily be an exchange of money. It could be just an exchange of, hey, try it out. Tell the world what you think about it. That kind of thing. And then as you grow, there's more opportunity, I think, to actually get paid to do those things. My only caveat would be I would suggest that you really love what you are recommending to your community. Don't just do it for the money. Okay. But I'm curious, I feel like, let me back up for a second. So two sides of the fence, one being, hey, as business owners, we can find people that might want our product or service and get more exposure for our products and services. But there's the other side, which is an income stream for us, having people connect with us that might want to pay us for our influence and get access to our communities. But I think there's still probably, I'm speculating, but I bet there may be people watching or listening that are like fuzzy on what does that mean. So do you have three influencer campaign types of things that you could for somebody who's like, okay, what's an influencer campaign? Do you have three that you could review that are kind of the most popular ones, so that people get an idea what a company or a brand is looking for when they hire you to be an influencer?
Yeah. So I think if you reverse engineer, right, you're a brand and you have a budget and you want to get word of mouth about your product, or you want to get people to your website or what have you, you're going to search for people that are talking about either your product, your competitor's product, or they're talking about, similar products or the industry. So this means in social media, it often, equates to Instagram, who's talking about, let's say we have an argan oil, organic lavender scented bath soap, right? So who are the people that are talking about this in social media? Who are the blogs or the bloggers talking about it? Are there podcasts that might talk about it? In other words, if we were to appear on that blog, if we were to be interviewed on that podcast, if we were to be pictured on that Instagram feed, would it generate more business for us? So once you think about it that way, the reverse engineering is, okay, well, I am a blogger that talks about organic, or I'm a store that only sells like organic, bathware products. Okay. And that is my niche. And I have a Shopify store. I got a lot of these products. And maybe at some point, there's going to be companies that may not compete with you, but that want to tap into that platform that you've built. Okay. So in other words, you have to basically be an expert in something, or have a niche, or have talked a lot about something online. That's obviously the given default. That's how they find you. And the second is, you got to have somewhat of a community. You got to have some influence, right? And that's where 1,000 followers is usually that minimum that a lot of brands will look at. And they'll look at your color. Hey, really love what you're doing. Would love to find a way to collaborate. What that usually means is they're looking at a few different things. One, the most common one is, we'll send you our product. If you love it, we'd love if you can post about it. That's the simple one. The second one is, we really like your content. After you post about it, if it's really good, maybe there might be a way we can work with each other, because we love the way you make content. We'd love it if you could, create some content that features our product. And maybe you could put alongside your own product or whatever it is, use your own creative energy. But we want to be able to reuse that content for our social media, for our web. So that's, and often these are tied together. So we'll pay you to, or, we'll give you product, or maybe we'll pay you money, but at the end of it, we also want to be able to get that content and be able to use it any way we want. And it's usually in a contract. So these are two of the most common ways. One is, a gift product, and you'll get lots of products, if that's what you want. Sometimes that will be for money, sometimes just for product. It turns into negotiation like anything else. Sometimes it's just, we want, because you're a great, photographer, videographer, want you to do a photo shoot, a video shoot. Sometimes it's an affiliate relationship. Hey, if you really like this, we'd love if you could, push it, and we'll even give you a discount code that you can use with your community. So the discount code affiliate to really push product. Hey, we'll gift you product. We'd love if you post about it. Sometimes that turns into being a little bit of money, or the content creation. These, I think, are the three main types of influencer marketing that we see today.
Yeah, and you have to take into consideration when somebody approaches you too. They always, and I don't know if this is my experience, maybe it's not yours, but I'd love your take on this. But lots of times brands will say to me, yes, we're doing brand awareness, but they're telling me a fib. They really want conversions. They really want more business at the end of the day. So I've just kind of gotten really tough with my brands. I'm like, y'all, listen, they'll say, okay, well, I want you to write a blog around my product or service, right? And I'm like, that's a long play. If you want, so you as the influencer, I think you have to make sure that you educate sometimes the brand, because they don't always know exactly what they want. They think they do, but what is it actually going to get them in return? And going into it with a very transparent and into the relationship with a very much a transparency around what the expectations are, I think is going to serve you well from a long-term relationship perspective. It's certainly been my experience over the years is, sometimes they don't understand the whole concept, and they don't understand that it's going to take longer to get what they want. If they want 1,000 signups and they're going to pay you for a blog post, for example, well, it's going to take them a long time to get 1,000 signups, kind of thing. So just being very aware of the expectations on your side and theirs, I think if you're going to do influencer marketing, is super important. I see Neal's shaking his head. So you do think that's super important, the expectations, and maybe in some cases, even the educational piece is important when you're working with other businesses.
Yeah. What I've found is that a lot of big brands work with a lot of agencies, and the agencies, they're just looking for people to sign up. They're just looking for numbers.
Yeah.
And they just have like this copy from the brand, do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, if I do that, then it's going to get like less than half of engagement than if we do it this way. So yes, you're the expert, right? You know your community way better than they do. If it doesn't fit, you shouldn't do it. Yeah. I mean, at first it feels really good that all these brands reach out to you, but it's like when the fashion company reached out to me, hey, we'd like to give you a free men's suit. It's like, dude, my community doesn't follow me for my fashion tips, right? So this is right. Yeah, I don't know why you reached out to me, and there's a lot of that as well. So if it doesn't make sense, and by the way, there's a bunch of scams of these, especially like in the watch industry. Hey, we're looking for brand ambassadors, just send us $20 ship and handling and we'll send you the first watch. It's like, there's a lot of scams. So watch out for that. But so number one, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Number two, you got to educate them. You got to do what's best for your community, because if you mess up your community, you mess up everything. Right.
It's a trust factor, when you have a community and they have built a know, like, and trust factor with you. That's why I said before, make sure that whatever you're going to put in front of them and you're going to recommend is something that is legit, because you can run your reputation and the know, like, and trust factor with your community in a heartbeat if you don't put them first. If you're going to recommend something, it has to be, in my opinion, something that's going to be, good for them, not, something that's bad for them. So, Neal, I think you and I, we could work with a glass company, an eyeglass company. I think we could just totally do some good things with that. So, you touched on this briefly before, but I'm just going to just ask you straight up, because I think there is a lot of, whether you're a business owner or you're, you're looking to sell your influence essentially as an influencer. It basically comes back down though to the same things, in that the money exchange, right? So what's going to give the most value? Do you feel that influencer marketing is more beneficial than, say, like paid ads, Facebook ads or LinkedIn ads, in your experience?
So it obviously depends on a lot of different factors, right? Paid advertising can do wonders. It sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I think when you find your sweet spot, right, that's when paid advertising can really scale, really works really well. But there's no guarantees. And I think the whole, iOS 14, 15, I forgot the version, but, the whole privacy issue that we're facing now, and Facebook saying, hey, we think this is how many conversions you got. The data is obviously being diluted and everyone's like, oh my gosh, we need to have our own email list. It's like, duh. So everything is relative, and nothing is permanent. But with influencers, the value is, a lot of times, depending on how you work with them, the ROI is long-term. When you have a paid campaign, when it's on, it's on. When it's off, it's off. There's no long-term ROI. When you work with an influencer, and once again, depends on the content, but the ROI of a blog post is very long-term. That lives in search indexes. And if it does well, if you work with influencers that are really good at SEO, that post might have a lifespan of a year, 2 years, 5 years. Kim, you probably have posts from a decade ago that are still driving traffic like I do. If it's a podcast, once again, it has legs. If it's a YouTube video, it has legs. Social media is a little bit different. Pinterest, some pins can last a long time. Instagram, it's pretty quick. Things don't last that long, as you know. Twitter, it's even shorter. So it depends on the content. But if you're able to build a relationship, okay. So first of all, if it's long form content, it lives on for a long time, right? Number two is that people tend not to trust ads. We trust ads less and less. And the younger the generation, the less they trust ads. Whereas when a person in an authentic way is talking about you, that is a lot more digestible. That's a lot more consumable. It's authentic, right? The favorite word that everyone likes to use. So it engages people in a much deeper way, much differently than that advertisement that's disrupting us does. So that's number two. Number three is the content. So I'm pushing my clients, especially if they're in the B2C, don't make your own content. Leverage content from influencers as your own. What the concept that you have to make your own, like, stock photos to put in social media, when lifestyle photos of people actually using your product perform better, and then hiring models or bringing people in to do that for you when there are people that are already using it, right? So I actually include, when I talk about influencers, I talk about customers as well, right? If a nano influencer can be an influencer, more and more of your customers probably have like 1,000 followers. So why don't we bring them into the fold as well? Kim, you mentioned your academy. I started my own membership community in April, and I'm going to start to bring those members on my podcast because they're influencers. They're customers, but they're also influential in their own way. And I know when they talk about my community, it's going to be way better than me trying to, convince people how great it is. So it's the same
That's
concept.
So stinking brilliant. I'm so excited that you said that. I never even thought of that. I'm like, okay, Kim, that's my big aha moment there.
Think of all the people you've helped with the Brand Builders Academy and just, I mean, it's not a vanity thing where they're all going to talk about you, but it's like, well, how are they building their business? And then at the end, it's like, how do you think the Academy helped you? It's so authentic. And so, it's way better persuasive. It's way better marketing than anything we can do, right? We don't trust what we're told. We're trust what other people tell us. I'll tell my wife something and she'll poo-poo it. And then once her friend recommends the same thing, it's like, oh, I got to do this, right? That's sort of an extreme concept, but I think you get the picture. So there's so much value. And then the final one, Kim, is the relationship. Because if you can really work a good relationship, that person's going to talk about you when you're not in the room. If they really love your brand, they're going to talk about it to their friends offline, right? The next time you have a new product, they're going to be first in line. They want to try it out and talk about it. So when you invest in people and influencers and long-term relationships, that's something you don't get with a short-term ad. So I'm not going to say it's going to, completely replace the short-term ad. It's always going to be a part. There's always times where you want a big old, gallon of water. You need it right away. You're going to turn on the faucet and then boom, it's going to come out. That's sort of what paid advertising is. But, the influencer play is more of a longer term play for many reasons, but it is really impactful in that way.
I love that you said that and made that distinction. For those who've been on the show routinely, you've heard me talk about, content in the length of time that it lives in places, like our evergreen content is gold, whether it's your blog or whether it's YouTube or Pinterest, to your point, has a longer lifespan on content than, Facebook or Twitter, for example. So I love that you talked about that's the influencer, depending on what they hire you to do, it has a longer lifespan. I totally 100% agree. So let's say we've intrigued some folks, and I've got a couple of questions I'm going to circle back to here in just a moment, but let's just say that we've, whether it's as a business owner, even small business owners, you can use nano influencer relationships and collabs to benefit your business. Or if you want to be, paid to put things in front of your community, how does someone start? Like, where do they, is there websites where they can go to find gigs, or, how does somebody get started with influencer marketing?
So you mean people that want to work with brands?
Yeah. So let's say they want to add a revenue stream and they want to get paid. So how do they go about finding, brands that are, or businesses that are willing to pay them to put their products or service in front of them?
Sure. I think the first part is obviously you have to be talking about that type of product online. So if you're not doing that, then, you're never going to get people reaching out to you. That's really where it starts. If there's a brand that you use all the time, you really want to work with, and that you could fit into your content organically, start talking about them, start tagging them. That's really the easiest way to get started. Now, if you do this for a while and no one is reaching out to you, that's when you might want to accelerate things. So 2 really easy ways to accelerate things. One is there are influencer marketplaces. They're an interesting place. You can try to register for a few of them. At the least, you're going to see more opportunities. You're going to get more emails saying, hey, here's an opportunity. It may not be the best fit, but at least it's going to get your name out there. The other one is, and I think I have the data in my book, I think 1/3 of influencer collab deals are done when the influencer reaches out proactively to the brand. So, hey, we do a holiday gift guide, an ebook, and I'd love to include, your product. We don't have an affiliate relationship yet. I'd love to get something set up so that we can make sure that your product's in that gift guide or the blog post or whatever. Or, hey, I'm going to be in Miami next week on vacation. I really love your, I really love this type of food. It's what I blog about. It's what my business is about. I'd love to be able to try out, your restaurant when I'm there. This is what a lot of travel bloggers do. They try to get, free meals, free hotel rooms. So it really, that directly. So there's the indirect, like the inbound just from your content. There's the outbound of you reaching out to brands and saying, hey, do you work with influencers? Do you do collaborations? Would love to find a way to work together because we're in the same niche, what have you. Those I think are the two main ways basically. And then you have these marketplaces where you could register yourself and see how things go. It's sort of a weird world where, you hear stories of successful influencers, how things started. I was just listening to a podcast the other day, and she was a blogger in Austin that was just talking about all the places to eat and all the fun things to do in Austin, Texas. And it was like back in 2008, 2009, before it became like a really, really popular travel destination. And her photography and videography was so good, and she was already talking to someone about travel stuff, that Carnival Cruise Lines just reached out to her and said, hey, we want to do like a monthly, deal with you, like a monthly contract to write several, blog posts and shoot several videos or what have you. And that basically launched her business. So, and that was inbound, right? So you never know, what happens, but brands are always doing searches for people talking about their brand or talking about similar things. There's agencies, they're always on the lookout for new people to work with. So it really begins though, you got to have the content out there, you got to get the brand out there, you got to have the community. And when you stick with a niche, it makes it more easy to be discovered by others.
I so love that. And, one of the things that just broaden your horizons a little bit is think about it. It's not necessarily something that is business related sometimes. Sometimes it's a part of the bigger buying pool that your community has. So like if you have women as a primary demographic in your niche, or your customer base, then they buy a lot of things. They might buy eyelashes, for example, right? So if some eyelash company came to me and said, hey, Kim, would you, because I wear eyelashes and I like my eyelashes. I'm just using that as an example. But, I know that a lot of my community are women, so I might, do something around that. But I think it depends on, again, is it in alignment with how you serve your community? And, would they be interested in it? Obviously, if your demographic is more male dominated, then they're probably not so interested in the eyelashes, right? So
I think, if it's like product that you love, like in my space, Kim, there's probably a lot of companies that reach out to you as well, like marketing tools.
Yes.
Like, hey, we got and you know what? Some of it's awesome. I've found some great stuff that's given me a competitive advantage, but really you want to work with brands that make sense. What I've realized, Kim, over time is that even with 15,000 followers on Instagram, that, the $25, the $100, the $150, my time isn't worth that little.
Yeah.
But when you work with brands like on blog posts or like YouTube videos or podcasts, you actually can make more money. So there's a lot of different ways to look at influence, but it all starts with having a platform and publishing content on that platform. And over time, you build up influence where people want to tap into it. And that's, whether it's Instagram or it's a blog, whether it's TikTok or it's a podcast, whether it's, LinkedIn or YouTube, there's always brands that are looking to tap into it because they know that, if you talk about their brand, it's coming from a trusted person in an authentic way, and it's going to convert a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chuck had a great question. He says, do you recommend we marketers start creating an influencer program by having individual conversations with potential influencers? Seems like a great way to learn and build relationships. And I'd love your take on that. And I'd like to give a personal example too of that question. So what's your thoughts on that?
Amen, Chuck. That is what I talk about in my book as well. And the funny thing is, since publishing the book over the last year, I talk to these, marketing agencies that work with influencers, and they go, we've seen a shift. Brands used to want to work with influencers for like this campaign A, campaign B, campaign C. And now they're thinking, you know what? Why aren't we working with so many more people having so much more influence? Why aren't we tapping into people that already know, like, and trust us? So now they're asking these influencers, hey, have you ever bought our product? Have you ever used our product? Imagine this, right? Why didn't they do that from the first? But they're starting to do that more and more now. And now they're realizing that, hey, instead of having to educate these influencers on every campaign starting over, why don't we start to invest in influencers and build a network, build a database, build a program so that we can actually nurture them over time. And we don't have to, work with people that may not know, like, and trust us. And we can build this relationship over time where the more that they know us, hopefully the more they like us and trust us. And that's going to resonate in their content as well. So one of the examples that I don't think I had time to use it in my book, I might have, but I don't think I did, because in the process of writing it, I had a company from Singapore reach out to me and I went to visit them and they go, Neal, tell me if you think this idea is crazy or not. We have a lot of nano influencers that love our product, but they're not the best photographers. They're not the best videographers. They're not the best copywriters. So we actually want to start to train them to write better copy, take better photos, shoot better video. And I said, that's it. That's exactly. You want to invest in these people that are already, collaborating with you because they like your stuff. Invest in them, right? So when you create a program, it's a long-term thing. It begins with one-to-one conversations, as you mentioned, Chuck, which is absolutely the way to build it. Over time, you can scale it because then you start group conversations. But it's really about, tapping into people long-term. And one of the things that you as a company can give them is that training. As this other company is like, you know what, we'll bring in influencers that are really good at photography to teach these other nano influencers how to do photography. How cool is that, right? How, the influencers in your program, how appreciative they probably are of you for doing that. I work with a lot of real estate agents these days. So I tell the brokers, shoot, hire a photographer to follow around your agents a day, right? And take, a year's worth of content, or hire a videographer, rent a video studio and invite your influencers to use it for the day for the YouTube videos. There's a lot of things, once again, adding value, right? A lot of things you can do that are going to incentivize influencers to want to work more with you, want to post more of you, and genuinely just love your brand because you're a partner, right? You're looking out for them, you're helping them. So that's a really, really key thing that more and more companies are doing. There are other examples. One that I love to use as a case study of a company called Rosefeld. It's a watch company, and they did the same thing. They basically created this program where they opened it up to all the people they said that love the brand. So their customers, their followers on Instagram, people that were engaging with them, and they said, hey, we have this great program. They called it a brand ambassador program, which is a great term to use. And there was no exchanging of money. It was credits, right? But people were getting exclusive access before new watches went on sale to the general public, or just getting credit to talk about the thing that they already loved because they were already a customer, they were already a follower, they were already engaging with the brand. So these are the ways that, and these were not like, celebrity influencers in any way. So yes, you should have, just like if you're in sales, you have a CRM, right? You're trying to find potential clients, you put them in a CRM. I think with influencers the same way. These are the people we want to work with, put them in a CRM. And we also add our own customers, our own followers that have influence, and we begin to reach out to them, finding how we might be able to work together. Not everyone's going to reply, but a lot of people will. And from that, you begin to have the conversation, sort of create, hey, how can we help you? You're a customer, or we see you posting about this. What can we provide you that would really serve your community, serve your audience? And you have those conversations. And here's the thing, influencers are people. Some people want that $25 Amazon gift card. Other people want the product. Other people are like, you know what? I love your product so much. I'd love to have a tour of your headquarters, or eat lunch with the CEO. I mean, I don't know, right? People are people. They're all different. You're never going to know until you have those one-on-one conversations. A mistake a lot of brands make is they assume everybody wants that $25 Amazon gift card and they miss out on an opportunity. I don't want you to miss out on that. So start, it doesn't scale. You got to do it one-to-one, but that's where you really develop relationships.
Yeah. And, if you don't feel like, so I'll just use Agora Pulse as an example, because they did a fabulous job with their ambassador program. I think where, in some cases they paid a small stipend to influencers. And it built a tremendous sense of loyalty, and they built a very connected community inside of a Facebook group, interestingly enough. And it was always a value to the influencer first. So I think if you're going to leverage this idea, which I think is brilliant, and I love how you laid it out so nicely, Neal, is if you're going to go down this road, you have to realize it's not about you, especially on the front side. It's all about how do you give value back and build true community and loyalty to your brand or your business by giving value back. So like, I'll give you a quick example with Agora Pulse. They were always like, you got anything you want us to market for you? Or, so it was never about, hey, what have you done for us this month? It was always about that, how do I bring value back to you? And as a byproduct of that, the influencer, me as one, and there was many others, felt an extreme sense of connection and loyalty to the brand. And I think they just did a fabulous job with that. And you just laid out a model where technically there would not necessarily have to be a paid exchange of funds for it. If you found the people that loved your stuff, whether you have courses, digital products, or whether you have physical products, if you've and the other value add is you have a test case essentially of people who love your stuff. So they're like, listen, lean in. What do they want? How do you leverage that? So it's kind of a twofold thing. It's a twofer. You can listen because they're going to tell you, well, I love this about it, but I didn't really like this, but having that true connection with your customers and let them be your voice, it could be incredibly powerful. I love that.
Amen.
So there's this new thing, and I know we're getting close on time, but it's called the 99-1 rule. So can you explain that? Because I know in the past it's been this 80-20 rule. So what's the 99-1 rule?
Yes, I wrote about it in my book, and it's something I heard first at a speech, like 5 or 6 years ago, and it sort of stuck with me. It actually comes from a concept that was developed like back in 2005 or 2006. And it's like, okay, let's look at internet users. So there are, if we add up all the internet users, obviously it's 100%, right? And the concept was 90% of internet users are lurkers. Now, this is before social media. And the idea of lurker is they're just consuming content. 9% of internet users are engagers. They will actually comment on blogs, or they will participate in forums, which was back in the day. And then only 1% are actually creating the content that 99% of people are consuming. And that, I think, is a very, very relevant way of looking at social media today. Not everyone's a content creator. If you are lucky to have LinkedIn Premium or LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can actually search for people from any company that have posted content in the last 30 days. It is not a majority of people, right? We know a majority of people on Twitter don't tweet. Not everybody on Instagram publishes every day. So, I was looking at that model and saying, it's pretty similar with social media. So let's say LinkedIn is 750 million people. There are not 75 million people that are publishing every day. It might be more like 7.5 million people, which would be the 1%. Maybe it's 50. So maybe, it's somewhere between 1 and 10% is what I'm saying. So as a brand, when you find people that are nano influencers or micro influencers that are publishing content talking about you or your industry or your product, what have you, that is a very, very small percentage of people, right? There aren't that many people. Now with B2C, there's a lot of people talking about eyelashes, right? With B2B, there aren't a lot of people talking about data recovery software. So when you find these blogs, they are golden. That depending on the product, that 99.1 is more like 95 or 96, 3.5, 0.5. So this is the thing. Content creators are king. Content creators are that top 1%. There are not a lot of them out there. It's why every social network wants you to join if you're a content creator. That's why they have all of these, Instagram, the content creator account, the Facebook for creators, YouTube for creators, even like LinkedIn. I found this LinkedIn for creators page, believe it or not. They all want you on it because it's a creators economy right now. TikTok was paying creators to basically make TikToks. They had, they were putting out a lot of money in the market to get people to create content for their platform because it's the content that brings people to social media. So when you're a content creator, if you're blogging, if you're podcasting, you really are at that top 1%, and you got to leverage it. If you're a brand, you really want to tap into those people. Yes, they might only have 1,000 followers, but there aren't that many people that are creating content around a certain niche. You really need to treat them like gold. and you don't want to burn any bridges because there's only so many of those people out there. So it's a really, really powerful concept when it comes to, digital influence and realizing the value that content creators have.
I love that. So I actually did a little scooping on it before because I was like, what is this 99.99 rule? And yeah, it's incredible. Everybody talks about content's king, right? It's been the same forever, and then engagement is queen, right? Yeah. But if we as business owners understand how important it is for us to create content and put it in places, I will say this, lean in, if you put it in places where it can give you long-term value, which is places like YouTube or your blog, or, it's not always social anymore. I mean, social has shifted. It's more about being found instead of having a bunch of followers necessarily. So we talked a lot about influencer marketing today, you guys. And as we're getting ready to pull up our winners for today's contest, not contest, the winners of today's prizes that I outlined before, the book and the t-shirt and the 1-year membership to the Business Builders Academy. Okay, so we've got congrats to Carol Dyer Tannhauser for winning the copy of Neal's book, The Age of Influence. And we've got Katie Simpson for winning the 1 year of our Business Builders Academy. Yay, welcome, Katie. I'm so excited. And then I think we have one more winner here. Rhonda's going to pop in. But as we're doing that, Neal, where is the best place for everybody to connect with you? If they're like, one, obviously, if they're interested in influencer marketing, I would highly recommend you go grab his book. But where else would be a great place for them to connect?
Well, I am Neal Schaffer everywhere on social media. I don't know if you see my name here, but it's the real Neal. So it's Neal, because there's a few Neals out there and there's a few Schaffers out there. So it's SCHAFFER. My website is nealschaffer.com. The book is The Age of Influence. It's available on Amazon or wherever you buy books. And I also have a podcast called Maximize Your Social Influence if you listen to podcasts. So I'm pretty easy to find.
So awesome. So guys, check him out, Neal. And when I type it in, I always spell your last name incorrectly. So make sure you grab the right spelling, and we'll drop it into the comments too. So all you have to do is click on it if you want to go check it out. And then let's see. And then Elizabeth, hang on. Oh, there's Rhonda dropped it in too. So there's the link. Just click on it inside of the comment area, and you guys can go directly there. And then Elizabeth, you won your Vibe Attracts Your Tribe from the Kim.store website now. So we're going to practice what we just talked about. So some of you guys know that your Vibe Attracts Your Tribe comes from my new Kim.store. And those of you who win prizes out of it, we give them away every week. How about taking a photo when you get it and tell me why you like it? Okay. So, all right, Neal, is that good? We did, we're putting it out there and getting other people to create content for me. All right. All right.
Yeah. And I take it one step further. Let me tag you on social media. Let me share you with my community. Right.
Yes.
So they get free promotion out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because that spins it around. It doesn't make it sound like it's just all about me. Okay, so which I never want it to be that way. So just tying this up real quick, what question did I miss, Neal? Did I miss something that I should have asked that I just didn't think of?
No, I think I really think we covered
we covered a bunch.
Yeah, we covered a lot. Yeah. So hopefully people have a very, very different understanding, because I do believe we've been sort of miseducated on the whole concept.
Yes.
So yeah, hopefully I just want you to look at social media as this great way to meet people and collaborate with people, whether you want to, do a side hustle, or whether you're a business and you really want to tap into the power of others. It really comes down to collaborations, to relationships, to adding value on both ends. And I think if everybody plays by those rules, you'll be on to great things.
I think so too. And I would encourage you to, even if you're thinking about it and your interest is tweaked, and you're like, well, who could I reach out to today to see if there is some way that we could potentially collaborate on something, whether it's a brand or whether it's a small business that's got another small business that serves your person. hey, I'd love to give you my XYZ, if it's your product or your service, and, in exchange for, an honest review, anything like that. Just get started, jump in, and, see where it takes you. I would say this just from my own personal experience, and I bet Neal would agree. Don't reach out to someone and say, hey, I see you have this blog, and my tool or my whatever would look so good in your blog. You need to recommend it. Don't make it about you, okay? Make it about whomever it is that you're outreaching to. How do you bring value to them? Because if you do it in the reverse, they're going to delete that. Boom, gone. I get those every day where I've got this great tool and it needs to be in your blog post around, the 7 greatest video tools or whatever, so I get them every day.
I got 99 problems and you're 2.1. So
yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, Neal, thank you guys. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your awesomeness with us. And for all of you guys that joined us live, and anybody that's on the replay or listening, even on the podcast, thank you guys so much for being here. I know time is value-based for all of us. It's our most valuable commodity, actually. And when you spend some with us, we greatly appreciate you. So take care of yourselves, stay safe, and God bless.